If you're a collector, you grow attached to what's around you. Some of these items have been in the family for 90 years. Hi, I'm Garett Luciani. This is Consignment Confidential. This room is special to me. As soon as you walk in, the atmosphere in here, it brings me back to different eras. I love coming up here. It's my special spot. During the pandemic, I got a chance to work from here. Even work felt a little bit better when you get a chance to look around, kind of just sit back and enjoy what's going on. We got Mantle, Mattingly, DiMaggio here. We got some Yankees out here. I don't try on a lot of the jerseys anymore, but there is a pair of bird shorts, so if anybody wants to try them on later, you can. There's a photo of my uncle, Glenn, right there. It was in the early 80s. Baseball was a big part of my life then, and my uncle, Glenn Stewart, was a collector at that time. And he really got into the industry because his father, Gene Stewart, was into sports broadcasting in New York. He had his own radio show for a few years. He did some play-by-play for the New York Rangers in the early 70s, and he established a lot of relationships with the New York sports teams. Gene really got into it because his uncle, my great uncle at that time, Herman Lang, was a sports writer. It's my great uncle, Herman Lang. And he had a very good and close relationship with Lou Gehrig. That relationship wasn't tied to just baseball, but it was established outside of the game too as well. When my grandfather was born in '29, he was the first child. Gehrig was so close to the family that from 29 to maybe 32, we have some really unique pieces. Some of the Gehrig photos have messages directly to my grandfather. I mean, he was just 1, 2, maybe 3 years old at that time. And that's why we see Gehrig, having a little humor with some of the things he signed where he says, I think you're going to be a better sportscaster or do Herman Lang's job better than he's doing now. Something about Gehrig, how he took care of himself, the Iron Horse. And then there is the bat that's in this auction as well, and that's a Hannah bat. It's one of two, and it's really a piece of history. But we didn't limit it there. There's a lot of different items, especially in this auction now. A lot of game used paraphernalia too in there with bats and uniforms, and a lot of things that were special to us gathering over the years. A little Seinfeld, a little All in the Family. One time, my father caught a Dave Winfield ball. It was literally like we had won the World Series. That ball never left my hand, and I think I hung on to it for maybe a week straight. As Yankee fans, I'm sure it's not unique when I say that my grandfather was a Gehrig fan. My uncle was a Mantle fan, and I was a Mattingly fan. So a lot of the pieces are centered around those individuals. I remember heckling Dodd Mattingly in batting practice, just wanted to get a ball from him, and when you finally get that ball, everything is perfect. One right here is Steve Sachs did this on Donnie Baseball. As a young kid, sometimes you might not realize what you have, or it's just there to show your friends. Ted Williams and Yastrzemski. But it's really about the story. You grab a collectible, or you get a ball, or whatever it might be, it's really that story that you can tell about that, piece of history. This is a Henry stick that's probably close to 100 years old. We got some 500 home run bats. We got a 61 bat here from the show, signed by the 61 Yankees. In the Mercer bat, it's just a neat looking bat. You get a chance to see it, how the bat was kind of doctored up for Bobby at that time. In the 80s and the early 90s, Montana, Rice, Mattingly, Mantle, a lot of these people did autograph shows, and my uncle was one that helped put those shows on. So we have a lot of pieces that are signed directly to Glenn for helping out. I had a great picture of Mantle underneath here that he signed. The barnstorming photo of Gehrig and Ruth is a historic, iconic photo. Lou Gehrig autographed it. It's one of those special pieces that you get a sense of how close those two were. I think I could probably take a piece like this and look at it forever. Some Frazier gloves that he signed too as well. There's a few items in there for Frazier and Ali, and some gloves that are signed. And then there's some lithographs that are signed. And those were part of an autograph show that my uncle ran. Got a Namath signed helmet over there. And a Joe Willie one here. So in here, there's a lot of different Yankee pieces left. See Pags on here and Mattingly. There's quite a few Mantle pieces that light up a room. If you're putting pieces around an area in your home, there's just something about Mantle that people gravitate to as well. Whoever signed directly to my uncle or my grandfather, those are the pieces that I enjoy the best. To Glenn, thanks for making my life easy, Joe Montana. There's a Mantle Ball that, excuse my language, but says, Glenn, you're the greatest. I really like this piece too. This is a Baseball Hall of Fame in '89. Some iconic players in there that signed that. If you're a collector, you grow attached to what's around you. Really getting a chance to say, hey, listen, this is a Gehrig Bat from '87. You know, what did he do at that time? You know, and getting a chance to look at some of the Ali stuff, the Mantle, and even the Namath. It's a little piece of history that you get a chance to look at. And in my case, I really enjoy looking at it. That guy in there. And that's why I've always had a tough time, you know, separating myself from these pieces over the years. In my family, I was the one that was vested in collecting sports memorabilia. Again, some of these items have been in the family for 90 years. At some point, you almost feel like you're letting down the generations before you that had kept these possessions intact and in good shape during that time. And you know that they were vested in that history too as well, and they took that with a sense of pride when they had these collectible items from their heroes. The special part is that, you know, this is kind of my thing with my uncle. I just remember being young and speaking to my uncle, and you know, every time we were talking about this, we were laughing, smiling, or getting excited, or whatever it might be, with the anticipation of having a new piece, or with the anticipation of speaking to one of these players at that time. My uncle passed away a few years back, and that was the connection we really had, was sports collecting. You know, it's bittersweet to have these items go into the auction, but I know that, you know, whoever comes across them will get a chance to enjoy them for maybe generations of their own.